What is going on, ProGuides family? My name is Renox and I'm back with another video for you guys. Today, we are going to be talking about 3 different styles of opping that you can implement into your game. We're also going to be showing you your favorite pros using some of the same strategies as well. But before we do so, you know what time it is. It is time for our question of the day. Today's question is, how do you like to use the op? Are you a fast and aggressive player that's always peeking that one angle to snag an important kill and open up the round for your team? Or are you more of a passive player, holding very small angles to thread the needle, ready to shut down aggression wherever they dare peek? Personally, I think I'm a bit more of a patient type of player. I like to sit back and watch my angles, sometimes a bit too much when I forget to check my minimap and notice the entire enemy team is over at the other site. Be sure to leave your answer to the question of the day in the comments down below, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. I know, before we talk about our opping playstyles, we gotta take a look at the operator first. Don't worry, we'll keep this quick. The operator, or as it's more commonly known, the op, is the most expensive weapon in Valorant, costing 4,500 credits. With its one-shot kill to the body or head at almost any range, it is a marksman weapon that requires a lot of game sense, map knowledge, and aim to use correctly. However, this does not stop a certain type of person from being drawn to its high-risk, high-reward playstyle. The op is very inaccurate while moving, but as you will see in just a bit, that doesn't stop some players from doing some pretty insane things with it. With 5 shots per clip and only 10 rounds in a reserve, you don't want to be free firing this everywhere, but missing a few shots here and there won't get you killed. Probably. It's also not a weapon that you will see being picked up a lot on save or eco rounds. As we talked about, when you do lose the op, it's a lot of money that just went straight into the enemy team's hands, making it even more of a risky weapon. Alright, getting into the part of this video that you all wanted, the first type of playstyle that we have with the op is the aggressive type of player. As we just talked about, the op is a weapon that is not designed to be used in such an aggressive way. With its low rate of fire and small magazine size, it can struggle to make up for missed shots, especially at close distances. But that doesn't stop some from showing the potential of a one-shot weapon in close range. The most well-known professional player that plays aggressively with the operator definitely has to be TSM's own Wardell. He is simply a magician with the op, able to constantly be peeking angles and getting the important frags that he needs so his team can push the advantage and secure round after round. One of my favorite clips of Wardell's aggressive opping comes during Game 2 of the T1 Valorant Showdown. During this clip, you will see how Wardell is constantly using Jett's utility and movement to his advantage, first getting himself up on a sage wall to get a better angle peeking onto sight. Then when Brax turned the corner activating his ultimate as Raze, instead of most players who would run and hide to try and avoid the Raze ulti, Wardell actually challenges Brax and wins the fight before Brax even has a chance to get his RPG off. After that, Wardell isn't done as he continues to take fights from mid-cubby until he eventually ends up securing another 2 kills while still under fire and wins the round for TSM. It is pretty easy to say that TSM most likely would have lost that round if it wasn't for Wardell first completely negating Raze ulti and then shutting down the site aggression from Cubby. He was put into a very difficult situation as an opper, being trapped into a corner and having to take very close range shots, but he still manages to keep his nerves cool and hit the shots that he needs to in order to close out the round. While the aggressive playstyle is very flashy and can lead to some awesome highlight clips, there are still some downsides that come with such a risky playstyle. Firstly, there is the small issue that we talked about earlier of game sense and map knowledge. As mentioned earlier, using the operator in the first place is a task that requires immense amounts of knowledge in both of these categories. However, using the op as aggressively as a player like Wardell requires even more skill than that. Not only does your game sense have to be near perfect to make sure that you don't get flanked or miss an important enemy rotate, you also need to have the aim of a legend in order to make sure that you are hitting your shots the first time, as in Valorant, when you are playing that aggressively, you really don't get a second chance. If this is the style of opping that you are going for, no matter the downsides, then there are a few things that you can do to make your life a little bit easier. First up is make sure to practice consistently. The main thing that will make you feel like you suck the most with the op is a bad flick or improper crosshair placement, so focus on those first. Then as you start to master the basic aiming, start working on your game sense and map knowledge. As we talked about, these skills can take months or even years to develop and even longer to master. So instead of doing it alone, why not work with a coach? Here at ProGuides.com, we offer amazing Valorant coaches to help you reach the rank that you deserve. Choose from any one of our high-ranking coaches to help you with any questions or get the training that you need. What might have needed a few months to develop on your own, you can learn in a few weeks instead. All links are down in the description below, so be sure to check us out. For the next opping playstyle that we are going to be taking a look at, this is probably the most common type of opping and the one that is probably the most frustrating for you in your ranked matches, and that is the passive style of opping. When playing passively, you are watching strategic locations and angles to make sure that no one slips past a gap in your defense. You sit and wait until your prey walks straight into your crosshair and then complains in all chat about the operator being too powerful. That being said, there is a reason that the operator has been receiving some hate recently, and so maybe check out our video talking about why we think the op is overpowered in its current state and some of the changes that we think could be made to better balance the weapon for Valorant. Link is in the description as always. Back to talking about passive play though, there is one very famous name that tends to use the operator like this, and that is none other than T1's own Skadoodle. We see here that Skadoodle is already starting by playing Sova, a much more defensive and intel-focused agent to the Jet that we were seeing from Wardell and his aggression. So already we are seeing one major difference between these two players in terms of style. We also see as how Skadoodle and the rest of T1 are pushing up Catwalk, some of Skadoodle's teammates get blinded by an Omen flash. In this situation, if we were looking at Wardell, I would have bet you that he would have gotten in front of his team and peeked the angle to either catch the Omen on their aggression or make sure that his team wasn't going to get pushed so that they can recover safely from the paranoia. Instead, when we watch Skadoodle, we see that he immediately backs up and turns his attention towards mid instead, which is again a much more passive option. Here, he is using his teammates as information to see if the Omen will push up Catwalk. If the Omen does push, Skadoodle will know because he will see his teammate die or at least shoot back. So instead, he turns his attention towards mid to cover that since no one else can at the moment while his teammates recover from paranoia. We then see T1 start up for a mid push while Skadoodle continues to play very passively and watching Catwalk from B Link. He does this because unlike Wardell, Skadoodle might not be as comfortable playing around all those close angles and sharp corners with an operator, so he is once again choosing the passive option and holding a very important flank that will end up netting him a kill onto the Omen that was trying to get the drop onto Skadoodle's team. This was actually a very impactful frag even though it was the only one Skadoodle will get in the round, as it helps to solidify T1's map control and force Echo 8 to go for long rotates to get onto site and defend rather than being able to flank and potentially getting the drop on T1. When you are trying to play this passively, there can be some issues though. Firstly is making sure that you are actually watching an angle that will help your team. If Skadoodle had instead been staring at B main while he was sitting at Link, he probably would have ended up dying and giving the enemy team a free operator and a way back into the round, because there was nothing to be gained from watching that angle. It's hard for me to try and go in depth on what is a good angle to watch and what is a bad angle to watch, because it truly does change almost every game and how each team has been playing. If you want to take some inspiration from Skadoodle and implement it into your own gameplay, I would recommend by starting with Skadoodle's positioning. Notice how he always has an escape route to his team if things go south. When they were pushing up Catwalk, he almost always made sure that his team was right next to him to help trade him if he died or missed a shot. He also made sure when he was holding an angle that he had a quick way to get back to his team, not just having to hide and wait. Notice how he has all of B main to run through and meet up with his team on B if more than one or two enemies presented themselves mid. Of course, the rest of Skadoodle's team did a really good job in cleaning up that round, but even if they didn't, Skadoodle still gave himself a way to get back to safety and take another look at the situation if everything went south. For our last playstyle today, we wanted to take a look at what would happen if we combined these two playstyles into sort of a hybrid aggressive but also passive playstyle. Now we are talking about more than playing like Wardell for a round and like Skadoodle for another round. This hybrid style of opping is very unique, just like the pro player behind the style, Shazam. Now, taking a look at this clip right here, there's a lot of gameplay to dissect in such a short amount of time, but don't you worry, as we're going to be breaking it down for you. Firstly, let's take a look at how Shazam starts off in the round. He starts in at a relatively safe location, surrounded by teammates, and almost looking like how Skadoodle would hold an angle. After he gets the initial kill onto Sage, he then repositions out of the orbital strike, but this is where things get interesting. See, as he is moving to the left of sight, he spots and shoots the Sova drone, which is a bit more of a supporting move. Using one of your 5 shots to take care of a piece of utility is the mark of a passive player. But then he immediately opts to go for a hyper-aggressive play, jumping on top of logs and even jumping to get a kill onto the Brimstone that was just pushing out of C-Long. The thing about this play is that he didn't even really need to go for that jumping kill to try and make sure the Brimstone would die, as his Brimstone was already pushing through the molly in order to secure the kill. But now that he had already secured the kill onto the Brimstone, the enemy team actually doesn't know that his team's Brimstone is on the other side of the smoke, and it might lead to another awesome play with Brimstone this time. As I'm sure you saw there was a lot that happened in that very short clip and a lot of decisions that needed to be made in both an aggressive mindset and a passive mindset, which is what makes this playstyle so dangerous, as you always have to be on your toes. When it comes to playing such a hybrid playstyle, there are definitely some things to keep in mind before going all in on this style of play. This is probably the hardest playstyle to learn, as you have to master both the passive and aggressive mindsets in order to thrive in this environment. At the same time, this is the most flexible of the bunch, as it allows you to react to situations much more dynamically and get inside opponents' heads better, as they never know what to be on the lookout for. An unpredictable AWPer will forever be the bane of every rifler's existence, so if you are the type of player that has fun both out-aiming and out-braining your enemies, maybe a more mixed approach is suited for you. Well guys, unfortunately that is all that we have for you today. If you liked the video, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you really enjoyed the video. Be sure to ring that notification bell as well, as we put out new videos like this one every single day. And this is the easiest way to be reminded every time we upload a new video. Alright, remember to stay safe out there, and I will see you all again very, very soon.